settings. Discard. Yeah. So let's wait for everyone. While I'm waiting, can mess around a bit. And the first one. Heyo. And number 2, welcome. That's a good thing. Okay, let's see. So this is my blocking volume basic build in a way where I'm now working. So actually after that stream combined with the references in that build, most of the things should be clear. Hopefully. Since I try to explain as much as easy as possible in a way. So starting off, we all know this problem here, right? When the reds start blinking away, this is happening when modules are connected and the blocks reach through the module. So the green ones are aligned with the wall, so there is no problem. But as soon as props or blocking volumes, hey, you made it. I just started, so I'm just explaining what I'm building here in my B.A.D.Basics build. That's the build you could download in a way. And yeah, like I said, that's one mistake many make when they build and connect the modules. They stick the blocks through the walls, which ends up in clipping blocks. So always avoid these, never reach the outer section. The thing is, I show it later, if there is no connection this wouldn't be any problem. So that's the reason why I don't connect my grid rooms, for example. Next funny thing is, we all know this, right? When two blocks have the same size and are overlaid. Yeah, this is a solution I like to do. So these are overlapped in a way, but you can see this is less than 1. Perfectly aligned, of course, would be something like this. Then you are on the safe side, of course. And yeah, that's a little trick, I show it later off. And this is the main topic, I guess, from today. This is the snap to grid thing. Yeah, you see, I easily made this checkmate pattern on the floor by just snapping the blocks each to each other. I show it off in a minute, so just go through these things. And always I transported it to the wall, so absolutely the same. Absolutely easy to do. Then we have the snap increment, yeah, the 15 here. The 15 is our main thing. If we have it on 15, we can turn the block step by step to 90 degrees and further to 180 degrees and so on. If we would snap these to the wall, we get this here, for example. And if you know what to do, you can build stuff like this, for example, which looks complicated, but it isn't. Technically. These are some basics I will show off later on. Yay, you made it. Yeah, just showing off my basic build, so that's the thing you could download, but I explain it in a second a bit better. Then we have the thing with the platforms and AI. Yeah, a certain height, even though they are solid, AI will absolutely dive into the blocks in a way. Yeah, seen on the red side, but as you notice on the left side we don't have the problem. That's because I barricaded the floors with props, so the props are solid and the AI has no chance to fall through. And yeah, this is something to keep in mind with the bigger demons there, to avoid certain things. I always do this in platforms in my maps. Next point is, you see here, when the roof block is too low, the height is below 30, I guess, yeah, 30 it is, and then always the module light will shine through and give this light frame. As soon as the block is thicker than the 30, you won't have this. For example, have you real tall walls like these, the thing has to be even bigger. Yeah, I do them by hand in a way. That's the thing. I'm not relying completely on snap to grid. So it's a bit of practice, I would say. So as you see, yeah, the 30 wouldn't be enough. So you have to make a thick wall when you have high walls to avoid the light frame in a way. Then here is how I make blocks with different surfaces in a way. So as you can see here, we have 3 different ones, and of course, yeah, if they are the same size copied, you have the clipping and things. If you make the one too high, since so just by the settings with +1, you get this big block, but you can actually align them with way less, and that is nearly not noticeable in the end. So that's the thing, yeah, it's a bit of practice. Now I go over the options, no, don't worry. And these are just some things when it comes to lighting with classic texture. So these are many blocks to simulate light. There is no actual light source. You can see it on the player, there is no light source. If you want the light source on the player, you of course have to place a light source, but this won't influence the surrounding block. So that's a little stuff here, and this is something easy to build. in a way, and yeah, but that's just what I have as a showcase. I mean, the settings are shown when you download it and open it up in your settings, but I show it now. It's actually not, it's kind of always the same with the settings. So okay, my movement speed is on 3. That's normally 3 or 2 is what I use the most when I'm building. Then you can align the stuff way better, so that's the thing. So okay, you get your basic block. Your basic block, when you get it, is this one. Okay, so the block has a size of 16 by 128. The 128 are interesting for us, so we make it a border of 128 in the size, just for the showcase. Okay, now we open up the settings. The settings are, for me it's square. Now we have this one here, grid size. 128 is the max grid size. We want to use this. The grid offset should be on 0, 0, 0, since yeah, that's, you can adjust stuff and things, but you are better off when you do it by hand in a way, so we leave this one out. For later on, we want this on yes. This is the module environment while we're building. That's not that interesting. The origin, the snap type, we have the midpoint and the origin. We want the origin. And now here this is the thing, the 15 of snap alignment. If we go down to 10 for example, grab this and now go with left and right and want to turn it, you see we barely hit a good alignment. Okay, I was on 10 now, that's the thing. If you go on 8 it's more, so that's the thing, you see we never will reach the line. And the 15 is what I use most of the time. Is 15 starts on 0, goes over to 90 degrees, goes over to the 270 and so on and so on. So we always are on line with our grid size. The next point is we have the option, for me it's triangle with the snap to grid. Snap to grid has 3 options. One is in the middle of the line, in the middle of the square itself, or in the middle of the crossing. And as you can see with this size, my joypad is a bit broken, so my sticks tend to drift a bit, so then therefore you have just to I have to correct it sometimes. So, and when you now look, I really have only to press square when I'm near the point I want to be, and I can connect it. Like I said, these little gaps are caused by my joypad, since my stick is a bit broken as fuck. So yeah, to make it a bit clear, let's see, and we have the perfect squares next to each other on point. So like I said, again, these are just to open the settings. The first one on max, the second one is uninteresting, this we want on yes, origin is interesting, and the 15. That's everything, and the low movement speed, so you can correct a bit easier. So I never did this before. I really started very late by using this, so of course you can align them just right by using your, but you see, yeah, that it's very nerve-wracking. So I mean, like, there is always this little gap. So I can, well, the color, I open the thing, go to color, have my color wheel, and then I just have to hold the button, the right shoulder button, and then I can skip in the color wheel. And since the left side is from bright to dark, and yeah, I'm pretty used to, so the middle would be my 127, so I'm pretty used to change the colors like this. And the more I go in this side, but yeah, that's how controllers have a slight opportunity next to the PC, I guess. And yeah, the thing is, these sizes would be the max of... Oh, Shady, how are you today? So the 256 to 256 is the exact quarter of one of these grids. So that way you always are on the max size of the grid. Like I said, ignore the little gap. That's just my broken controller. That's fine. You're very busy, man. You're really busy. So that's how you could make instant things. Now that's, for example, when I make my poles and stuff like this, yeah, you have this one and just go there, and now you want to have, you start off with you want to make it symmetrical and stuff. That's the thing. So whoop. You can take this, just go close to the middle, and there will exactly be the same place in between every time, since you are using the grid to its purpose. You see, this is things, but like I said, I could go here, and that's my snap to grid in the way. So if I want to place them side by side like this here, and then you have to go to the 128, that's exactly the middle of the line. The next one is exactly the middle of the cross, and so on and so on, and the middle of the quarter. Okay. What for numbers? I'm too slow. The thing is, since we have the C mod on, yeah, that's the thing. When I press up, I can attach it. This is a bit more tricky. You see, it tends to fall into places sometimes. That's the point where it can get a bit tricky. On this wall it's not working right, on the next wall it is working right. Yeah, I don't know the actual here we go. For example, this wall, that's the door walls. The door walls are always the trickier ones in a way. I don't know why it is, but they are always a bit iffy. So that's the next reason why connecting the modules isn't that good. But now I can go, like I said, you can correct it a bit, and yeah, here we go. Then you can go, of course, the more you have, the more you can grab. Walls are a bit trickier to do, of course. That's a thing I technically avoid a bit, so you can correct it a bit by yourself. And oh, controller, don't leave me alone. Yeah, we are not exactly on the line, but yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, walls are a bit nasty to do. I don't like the walls so much. Of course, the thing is to show off what I did on the other page. Like I said, since we have we could now go, I could make it easy when I want to go and do this, like you see, and then I'm perfectly aligned in this way. If I go and change the angle, of course I go to this angle, and that way I could build myself around. This is one possibility. But the next possibility would be you grab this one, then you see the manipulate options, hold that button, then you see when you the x-axis, and here you can actually change the length. Since you have now the snap increment of 15, it also, as long as you hold it, and I have to press my left shoulder button, I can snap to each angle of the 15 like I want. So even if I'm slide in between, it will snap to the next one. That way I will always be aligned in a way, and then I can build to snap. These are things I don't snap, for example. Then I align them on point. The better, of course, the more clean your build will be. Of course, that's the thing. You have to be patient and have to be practice. Like you see, it's a bit a tricky thing to show it off that quickly. The slower you move, the easier it is, and when your controller is not totally wrecked, this is way easier to do. So I like the challenge, I would say. So yeah, and that is now our build. If I want to use, I always grab the lowest, and that way you can always slap it to the floor. The good thing is, if you want to change the angle of these things now, you go also, you can choose the axis since you have multiple parts here, but and it turning it like this, you will see it won't be the same angle every time, since the point of view is a point, yeah. But since you have the increment of the 15, you actually can snap it back to this. So if you are somewhat right, you will see it's adjusting, and that way you have the chance to be aligned again. So that's what I did here, for example. Is I started up, so this is what I had in the end. For example, I started up one line, the second one, and then this one on top of it. Then you go copy this one, for example, you can change it right away, align the corners exactly on the point like this, grab everything, turn it completely around, align these corners exactly on the point, as exact as possible. The more time you take for these parts, for example, the better is the result, of course, like always. Yeah, that is so. And now I can grab everything. Yeah, I got everything. Now when I copy this, I can turn it around as good as possible, go a bit further away. Since I have my reference for these blocks, you see, okay, this is perfectly aligned. Now I align it as good as possible and just raise it up, and that way I get the column from before. So you get really good effects in a really short amount of time just by using these few settings in the appropriate way. Ta-da! Now I had my base column, for example. Like I said, the better you work in the first place, the better the results are later on, and you don't have to adjust too much. I mean, it's possible, but yeah, it can be nasty, for example. So the thing is, of course, as you see, I could use a complete block in the lower section or in the upper section to save at least 3 blocks in this build, but I have use for them, so I will keep it. And there's one missing. I mean, the more complex you go, the freakier this selection will be. So since I have everything now, we go here. When I hold my my options button, I can copy this shit, which is a nice feature. So now I can copy and paste this in every map I want, or actually right next to it. now it's important when I grab this one here in the front, I can snap this one to the grid. Copy this, snap it to the grid. Copy this, snap it to the grid. And I always be in the same distance like I wanted to have. So that's the thing. You could make pretty fancy columns for a pretty fancy thing. Just make the walls in between, etc, etc. You also can do it if you want to make it a circle in the middle, then you copy. Oh, I didn't drop it to the floor, I think. I'm not sure. Did I? It's on the floor. So now I go with the 15, for example. Align the corner. Copy it. Align the corner. The smaller the parts are, or the smaller the thing is, there is a possible to snap these two, but I am not sure about the numbers, and like I said, with a slow movement and a bit of practice, this is actually pretty easy. I mean, yeah. And when you do this with every angle you have, you get a nice big circle with the shape of each column. So of course, once you have a certain amount, yeah, there is the easy way to grab more and duplicate it the easier way, but yeah, the more parts you have, the more complicated it will get in a way, of course. That's, yeah. The pillar is going on. The thing is, yeah, like I said, of course I could use a block from in 128 or 100, what we want more. So now I copy this one, set this up, lower this one down, go, oops, stupid controller, go down and align this next block. Since we are in the size, we can easily manage to make it the opening here, for example. Now I can go on that's what I do. I mean, that's, you can do it by the numbers, but I do it like per eye view. So let's say we go to 8. That should be pretty right. The same with this one. Oops. Okay, that's pretty close. Let's say we go down, but wait, something is wrong. This is 6 now. Right. Dang it. Stupid me. Actually go to 6. 6 is better. We have a better time with 6 right now. And since we are on the line, we have a pretty easy time. So now we can say, okay, we want this bit more inside. Let's say we make this on 6 too. Just by changing the size, that's the easiest part. And we have this nice opening, so we still can align this a bit more. I mean, this is not that correct. I provided an example here on the side. Here it's a bit better. And what I did here is technically place the fire inside, and yeah. We can of course say, since this is still the same size, I want this on every side to get even more details, for example on my column. I grab this. Place it over here. And delete this. Oh, I had this side in mind. So then of course I have to look for the corners then in this way, but that's a thing you can do later on, for example. But like you see, there are many ways to get really freaking detailed in a way. what I was starting earlier on is, for example, you also could change these sides on top to the minimum square, and then work with the block from this point. Of course this has to be smaller in the size, and this should be good. Go to the alignment, search for a right angle you want to have, align it with the under corner right here. But you have to be tricky, since you can't cut it out exactly. You have to make some border in between, so to maybe adjust some stuff. But oh no, you have to go to the upper corner, right? I'm wrong. Zip. Zip. Like I said, there has to be a fancy frame or something like this to block these areas in between then and stuff like this. There are many options you can do once you have your basic build in a way. And that's technically really all with these few settings and the option to use your snap to grid. You grab it, you turn it around, and you just want to get to the right angle. Best always grab the lowest one, and you are perfectly aligned. You can reference it with a other one that is technically aligned. So even so you are in a weird angle in between, you really have the chance to get it right and keep your shape and do pretty the most fanciest stuff in a way. This is the easy part. Technically, like I said, important are the 128, the 15 are most important, and snap to origin, so you can decide. So since we had the question, for example, with the grid room, so like I said, most of the time you start up in a weird angle. Thanks to the snap to grid, it's easy to align them. Most of the time you have to double check the first time so that you are really aligned and not in such weird angle, or like I said, or you skipped around, you tried out something and you mess it up. Go to the bottom, one left, one right, and you are aligned again. So since we are working with the complete module, the biggest size is 2428. The same here. So that's our max. Make it a bit lower so we have an easier time. I make it 10, that's a better way. So what you can do, but therefore I need more movement speed. When you grab this one now, you go to your corner you want to start, snap it. You grab it, go to the corner from before, snap it. This, oh controller please, don't be like that. I so need a new controller. So this part that is left is 1024. It's exact half of one of these. So we go and just check which. No, this is this direction. We want this direction. Yeah. It depends what is the faster way. Sometimes tipping, sometimes not. So and now aligning correctly. So now I have my first line. Now I can go zack, 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 grab these, go for a reference point, which should be always a corner you started with. So okay, we ignore the little settings. The next point is, oops, when you have the ground texture, okay, we make it a bit different. Of course, this normal texture is, there are some things you have to consider. For example, if I have the stone pattern here, then you technically want to stay in your stone pattern, of course, so you can't just easily say of course this is the same size, oops, like this, but when I change this one here and want to place it like this, yeah, of course my stones are in a different shape, which can be very noticeable. So you actually have to build new blocks for this side when you work with textures that have a continuity in itself. So that's always a thing to consider. So for the corner, of course, since it is half and half, means this block has to be 1025 to 1025. Get over here, close. Aligned this way, bit in the corner, and we need the next one for here with the 1000, of course. So the first one, oops, so like this, and like this, and we have a complete flow without clipping, since everything is aligned exactly like it should be, and have the concrete room textured on the floor. And this basically would work on the walls too, but for one, it's always no good idea to go for the absolutely max of the grid room in a way. So it's possible, like you about just have seen before, aligning on the wall can be tricky, or you can make it with the height, of course, and snap them to each other. This works. The good thing for the skyboxes is the skyboxes have no clipping, even so they are aligned exactly the same. So I don't snap them to the wall now, and I don't want to use one. One is a tricky thing. If your frame rate goes down, the thicker the blocks are, the better is the chance that there is nothing shining through, I think to believe. But don't quote me on that, please. So you can go pretty the similar way, of course. Oops. Go down, grab it, go to the corner, and you get close. So now I can snap it here, and then the same for the corner, of course, and then just go up. Upwards it's a bit easier, I think. It's just half of the block or something like this. That's it, it's not exactly 2, it's less than 2, I think to believe. Haha, verarscht. Screwed myself. Okay, that's no problem. Then, since we are up here, we copy this, we drop it down. Yeah, it's even lower, yeah. It's 1.5 or a bit more than a half in the height. But yeah, like I said, for the skybox, this is not the problem. So this clipping, once I have my wall, I just go from the normal texture to the skybox. And once I have my skybox, I don't have any problems anymore since, yeah. And it's always important to place the blocks with some neutral texture in a way, since it's so hard to determine where the edges are and ledges are from the skybox. You get really dizzy and it's so annoying to do. And if you want your roof, of course, that's why I made this floor, yeah. Just grab all of your floor, copy it, hold it and lift it up to the height you want it, and you will have the maximum of the size now. Here's the example I made with the light frame. Since this is just a block with a depth of 1, there would be always this light frame here. If you have this in your map and you don't use a skybox, for example, you can avoid this by just changing the height to, let's say 100, 140 should be enough, and you see the light frame is gone. It's the thickness of the roof's blocks, at least 30, and you are on a good side, so when you have the chance. Otherwise you have to trick the system and place stuff above your skybox to block the module light. Otherwise you always will get this light frame in a way. And once you have your height, of course, now you have the pretty easy time to just change your skybox one by one. You have to do it 9 times, and your sky is bright and wonderful and completely aligned, and nothing should stick out that much. Yeah, maybe not that bright, but yeah, I'm not sure why it stick out. Maybe I switched around, since yeah, I'm not aligned anymore. That's the problem with my controller. I didn't raise it up straight to the top, so I switched out of the module. With the right equipment, this shouldn't happen, but actually wouldn't be a problem. So I always tend to leave a space like this up in the height when I don't need it for the build, I have to say, since it is way easier to handle it from upside, from the top down perspective, than from down. You can get a bit. So since I have everything, I can readjust it easily to the module, just again by snap to grid in a corner until it's done. So now this corner is right, this corner is right, yeah, and now we are easily in the parameters of the module and have our skybox. That's the pretty simple, easy way, not distracting, not confusing, and 100% close. Yeah, like I said, these are the things I always use. Here we have that's when I make blocks with different colors, for example. That's a tricky part, or can be a tricky part. I have the block. Now I want, let's say, that's especially what I do, for example, do in my classic textures. As you have your wall texture on the side, like this, and now the floor should be something different. That's the point. I just copy this, grab the one I just copied, and just give my stick a light ditch upwards. This could be enough. I think it wasn't enough, but let's see. Now I change it. No, it wasn't enough. You see, I try to grab it again. Okay, that's okay. Now it's not one height. It's not one more, but it's slightly more, enough so it doesn't glitch. Of course, this block is a bit higher. This is something you can avoid when you have not all 4 sides, but technically I just go over here, make it one smaller, and have my floor on the ground with the least difference in height. So like I said, I could go here. Can I grab this, please? Can I grab the black one? Yeah, I got the black one. So the thing is, would I be just make it from this to that, you can see there is a huge difference in the height. And that's what I do, for example, on the floors too, like here. So when I just have this, I grab it and give it just a slight one. That's not one higher than the other one. That's what I did here. And this one, you see this is even lower. So you don't have to align it. You just have to change the heights in between. So you can go really nuts. So that way I always can say, okay, since this one is higher, yeah, there will be never a thing, but it's so minimal you won't see it really. So that's the easier way when you have a gap, you want to have a nice texture on this one, for example. That's the thing. Sometimes you want to have it really perfectly sitting on the texture, for example. Let's say you just want this middle this middle area here. Then you go to this and raise this. Oh, controller, please let me not. Right. Come on. I have to stop. I have to go closer. Once you have lift, ich hasse den Controller so. Yeah, that's a bit of practice. That's really fine tuning in a way. But now you see. So this is this. It's less than one, but yeah, and then you can cut out what you wanted to see or to show. That's the fine tuning. I love this shit in a way, so that's what I do really often. And that way you don't have to align it correctly. You don't have this, like I said, I could show off what it would be when this would be 2. There is still this would be a big difference. You see there's automatically this shadow in a way compared from this to this, but we have the same effect. So that is really helpful to make smooth transitions in between. With a bit of practice it really pays off. And yeah, these are the tricks I use for these, for example, where I actually have one here on the side, one block, different texture on this side, different textures on top, even different textures on the downside. So it's just depending on which side I want it, I can align it. So the sides, of course, you have to cut down in a way. You can't. The raising trick really just works for the ceilings or for the bottom, for example. You can take this, and when I want just the ceiling, I raise the gray one. Oh, I have both. Just a bit. This is too far. Go down. That's fine tuning. But in the end, it can pay off really well. So it could be even more. You have to do it a certain amount, of course. Otherwise it will glitch in the distance, but yeah, most of the time you get really good results. The next thing I like to do the most in the last time is, for example, now you have your column, for example. Let's say we start from the ground up. Once you know, okay, this is my maximum my column should have, I go here and duplicate it, go one step up to make this light shades for the column, for example. Since I'm right in the middle, later on, let's say I go to 2020, yeah, and actually have to do the heights already. So when I snap to grip, I got the perfect one here. So that's something I can do as often as I want to. I don't have to snap them always to the ground, so I could make smaller parts, but it's easier when every part reaches the ground. It's absolutely easy. So since the last one is, we make this one 40, this one 40, but just a bit of a height. Yeah. Then now we can say this is our main column. Now I want these on top too, but of course changed around, and you get a few details in minutes. Again, you have the chance to make this as your wall segment by just changing this, but yeah, it depends. Yeah, most of the time I use more parts for a wall, even though it's a straight wall, since most of the time I want to cut out something. If you want to make a secret door or something like this, it's interesting to have many options in between you can cut out, for example. So that's the thing. Or you can combine it, since I have my other tower combined. You can go really fancy, and that way with a few hints you get a ton of details out of it. Placing some walls and you have a nice hallway. That's actually how I make my hallways too, in a way. It's building a certain part of it. As soon as I'm happy with it, I save it for me, and then it's duplicating, changing the angles, and that's it. Always in mind, so that's nearly the grid sizes, so to get it in a more symmetrical way. I'm used to build very unsymmetrical, since yeah, I like it. Most of my earlier builds are pretty freestyle in a way, since I enjoy building freestyle and try out many different shapes and forms and stuff like this, so it depends. But yeah, like I said, everything, the most important stuff is explained in here. For settings, that's for example my settings for the floor, so the AI can walk the best. Yeah, when you do it like this, you're always on the good side. Since I'm using barricades in most of the upper areas to get more effects, these can be non-solid for everyone besides the player, if you want that the player is able to grab the ledge. But everything else is totally unnecessary. Every block is provided by the prop inside, and yeah, like I said, with a bit of practice and patience, there is a lot of stuff to do. Important are red bad, green good, and you're on the good side. Let's see, bring this back to normal, since I'll upload this late version then too, so everything I made here in a way will show off and can be seen and can be messed with around, or yeah, whatever. Can copy it and experiment it for yourself. Like I said, this is, like you see, this is just the coloration for in a brighter way. The lightings, the way lighting would work is really actually by the color, and lies on this side. This is very bright when you are near light source or when you want a really bright area, and the lower you go, the darker the normal texture color will be. That's why my normal room textures are most of the time around 127 in the middle, so I can go brighter if I want, or can go darker. And I mean, these are subtle effects. I use them in many small corners in my maps, but people won't recognize it because it makes a difference. But yeah, you have to know about it and really have an eye for it. So for example, what I like to do is when I build the boxes, where's the box? There's the box. The crate is a size of 90 I think. 90, 94. Yeah, 95 is okay. 95. That's something I like to do. Make it a normal box. Yeah, that should work. So now I have my box here, for example. Oops. We go inside the room, better to show it off. So now this box has a model color of 143, and we have the light source here. So what I do, I copy the box, make it actually thinner, since I don't want to have the whole box. That's not necessary. I could do one. One is too. I take two. It's easier to align. Now I just place it right, switch the light on, and the box is shiny. This is how you easily can work with little effect. Of course, you see now it's not aligned correctly. I can go way more in this box to ensure even better results. I can go for this classic textures with all their pixels. In a way are pretty forgiving when it comes to this. And now it looks like the box is lightened by the light in the corner without any light source. And of course if you want some light effects on the player, you can use light spots too, but if you use, for example, the light ceilings here, like these, measure them up to full with the right settings for the environment. I like to use, when it comes to environment in my maps lately, I most of the time use the polar call, since the brightness is pretty thick in a way, and gives pretty good results. So, and then your room is lightened enough in a classic stage, so you don't have to place light sources in any way. My last map has not one light source placed, and is bright and shiny or dark and everything just by the settings of the module, of the model color. So pretty neat stuff. So there are a few limitations, of course, when it comes to the classic textures, but also some benefits, and I enjoy it a lot to work with the classic textures in many ways. So yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So, and if there are any more questions, I am really happy to do another stream once. And yeah, most of you know the discords and stuff to reach me out, or anything else. And yeah, I'm more than happy to share more information, and I'm more than happy if anyone has some ideas that would fit into this room too. Just download the room, place your ideas inside, maybe with some explanation. It's always helpful to have some explanation what you are thinking, what you want to do, and then just republish it. I mean, I most likely will see it, or give me an info that you republish it, so I have the new info too. So and yeah, that way this reference build gets bigger and bigger, and most of the issues you can get with custom geo should be explained in a pretty decent manner. I try to implement some stuff with decals, but decals are more the things I do by feeling, I have to say. I know a few things when it comes to settings and stuff, what I have to look for, but I'm not really, I can't explain what I do. I just do it and hope that it works. So yeah. Oh yeah, that's my collected knowledge about the blocking volumes. And never do this, and never do this in your maps. I will always pick on these. That's why I never connect the modules. Yeah. Here is explained, for example, why not to delete, but there is no lag right now, since every of these blocks are shiny. It's deleted, but yeah, in a normal map this would be more possible. This is the correct way how to hide and holy shit. That's the module. Okay. The right way to hide the blocking volumes. I have to implement the things with the props, I guess. That's the thing. And yeah, like I said, why barricading floors is a neat touch and very helpful in certain heights with certain demons, when you want to avoid to let them dive into. And yeah, with all the tricks I showed, you can really do pretty easy stuff pretty fast. So like I said, and yeah, doesn't look bad. And that's the thing. I thought, now you have your nice chimney for your nice Christmas party, if you want. I mean, of course, yeah, the lighting and smaller blocks are not the best, but it works. Some decals on top, some other textures, and you have a nice little detail. And yeah, as you see, always double check in game what you build. Sometimes you build very close to the build and think, oh, it's gigantic, yeah, and in the end you have built a tiny little pillar or something like this. You get really small details very fast when you are in the building mode, since you can zoom to the spot. Yeah, and like I said, this is, yeah, it's not really more light, I don't know, but yeah, you can do some effects, definitely do some stuff with the right settings. And yeah, like I said, I hope it helps, and thanks for watching. And if questions, check the Discord SnapMap or the Reddit on SnapMap and stuff like this, or reach me out on my PSN if you're on the PlayStation. That's it for me, and I say goodbye. Thanks for watching.